Department of Justice is now joining California Republicans suing to block Prop 50. Voters approved redrawing those congressional districts earlier this month. This is ahead of next year's midterms.
Now, the Trump administration is accusing California of racial gerrymandering, violating the U.S. Constitution. It accuses the state of favoring Hispanic voters with the new map. It asks a judge to ban California from using the new map. And in a statement, Attorney General Pam Bondi says, quote, California's redistricting scheme is a brazen power grab that tramples on civil rights and mocks the democratic process, end of quote. Goes on to say Governor Newsom's attempt to entrench one-party rule and silence millions of Californians will not stand. The governor's press office responded on social media saying, quote, these losers lost at the ballot box and soon they will also lose in court, end of quote from Governor Newsom's office. Joining us now to talk more about the lawsuit is Professor Mary Beth Moylan from the McGeorge School of Law. So, Mary Beth, what are the main arguments the DOJ is making in this lawsuit?
So it's important at the outset to know that they're seeking to intervene in a lawsuit that was actually brought by some Republican representatives. And so the U.S. Department of Justice is claiming that, as you said, this is a racial gerrymander. And that the focus of the legislators who proposed the redrawing of the map was to make more safe Hispanic voting districts rather than simply more safe Democratic-leaning districts. And that's an important distinction in the law because racial gerrymandering claims, at least nominally, can still be brought, whereas the U.S. Supreme Court has clearly said that partisan gerrymandering claims are non-justiciable. In other words, there is no opportunity to challenge a redistricting plan if the argument is that it's based on partisanship, that the legislature is expected to do that.
So I'm just curious, I mean, how do you prove something like that? How do you prove that race was somehow a factor in the redrawing of these districts?
Well, so that is a really great question. And recently, in 2023, there was actually a case called Alexander versus the Southern Conference of the NAACP in another Supreme Court case where the court in that case the lower court had a 9-day trial, found that race was a predominant factor, in fact, the predominant factor in why district lines were drawn in a different state. And the Supreme Court said, no, race and partisanship were so closely tied that you can't parse them out. And in fact, that in that case, the Supreme Court reversed the district court's finding of race. So it's a very, very high burden to try to show that district lines were drawn based on race as opposed to based on politics, especially when partisanship and racial identification sometimes are intermeshed.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen also that a lot of that is changing more recently than the past couple of decades, especially with the Hispanic community and what side of the aisle they're falling on. So this could actually backfire. Now, we do know that other states are looking at redistricting as well. What are the implications of this lawsuit nationally?
Well, I think that's perhaps why the federal government has come in on the other, or is trying to come in. They've made a motion to intervene, so they haven't been allowed to join the case yet, but they very likely will be allowed to join the case. The Democratic Congressional Committee has also joined on the other side, supporting the state of California. The California Attorney General's office will be defending Proposition 50. So we're going to be in a situation where we have the federal Department of Justice facing off against the California Department of Justice with the question of whether Prop 50 is lawful. It's a very high, very hefty bar to prove a racial gerrymander, and it really is so unusual. It would be so unusual to have it done. But I do think the national character of this case is important because ultimately other states have gone ahead and done mid-decade redistrictings as well. And of course, the Department of Justice has not challenged the ones where Republican seats have been picked up as a result of redrawing of maps.
All right, we'll watch it all play out together. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.